But you, the WBC, think that you better than everybody, don't you? So since you, the WBC, and you got the green belt, which don't mean it, and real belt is the ring belt, which is free, motherfucker. What are you talking about?
Can you talk about the difficulty of this decision?
Yes, it's very sad. It is very complicated to have to vacate a title, to withdraw recognition of a champion hurts very deeply.
And this is what TKO is saying. Why do you have to pay them? Don't pay them. Don't adhere to their crazy.
Terence Crawford calls for a boycott of the WBC after they took Shakur's title away, criticizing the organization for its arrogance, rigid regulations, and excessive fees.
$100,000. What makes you so motherfucking better than any other sanctioned bodies? Huh? To that question. What makes you better than the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA?
Terence Crawford fires back at Mauricio Suleiman, saying he could claim the belt whenever he chooses, while accusing Suleiman of imposing an unnecessary $100,000 fee on Shakur.
Take the fucking belt. It's a trophy.
Mauricio Suleiman removed Shakur's title after having done the same to Terence Crawford earlier, stating that he violated the rules, missed required payments, and as a result forfeited his WBC championship status.
The WBC super lightweight, then he unified and became undisputed in welterweight against WBC champion who was Spence. Great fight. Yeah. He petitioned to fight a final elimination bout in super welterweight against Madrimov and remain champion in welter. The WBC supported him. He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000.
Shakur Stevenson wrote on X, "I just paid these guys after my last fight. What the hell am I giving y'all $100K right now for? Y'all got issues with Bud, so you're coming at me for it," showing his frustration over the continued demands. Terence added that officials live comfortably off the fighters, while the athletes take the punishment and still have to hand over unnecessary WBC sanctioning fees.
And guess who gotta pay for it? Us fighters. We paying for y'all to come out here, have the time of y'all life, stay in the best hotels of y'all life, and it's all done on our dime. It's done on our dime. Do that sound right to y'all? It's crazy, ain't it? We the one out there getting battered, knocked upside our head, and every time we step foot in the ring, we gotta pay them a sanction fee like they the government. We getting taxed.
Shakur Stevenson said, "100K to some crooks who don't deserve it? Nah, Leilani, I'd rather give it to you, baby girl. The WBC didn't even have anything to do with this fight, and it's eating them up. Take your belt. It doesn't make me," expressing his frustration. Roy Jones Jr. added, "No matter the disagreements, stripping a champion of his belt is unfair, disrespectful, and makes the organization look bad."
A lot of people were really upset about. And
I don't really want to get too deep into that. All I'm gonna say is it's wrong for him to be stripped if he didn't even defend the title.
Yeah.
That's all.
Chris Mannix harshly condemns the WBC for seeking excessive fees from Shakur Stevenson, labeling it disgraceful and unjust. He stresses that regardless of how much Shakur made, that money belongs to him, and the organization has no moral right to it. Mannix contends that the current sanctioning structure is deeply flawed and shouldn't exist, as it takes advantage of fighters who already endure significant physical and mental strain in the ring. He notes that athletes absorb punishment, accept serious risks, and devote their lives to the sport, only to be hit with unnecessary financial demands from governing bodies like the WBC.
It's crooked and shady. as you can possibly get. And for the WBC to do this now, when sanctioning bodies are under attack, when the sanctioning system is under attack, this is a glaring example about why maybe they shouldn't exist. Maybe they shouldn't be in boxing if you are going to reach into the pocket of a fighter like Shakur Stevenson, ask for $100,000. According to Shakur, there's been no comment on this from the WBC. I asked for one. I talked to a member of their staff. I said, tell me what's going on here. And all I've seen is the Instagram post of the WBC saying they were stripping him. To reach into the pocket of a fighter for a fight that you have nothing to do with and asking for $100,000. I don't care how much money Shakur Stevenson made that night. That's his money. That belongs in his pocket. The WBC had nothing to do with it. It is disgusting. Disgusting that they stripped Shakur Stevenson of that belt. And Shakur would be right to never fight for a WBC belt.
The WBC initially sparked controversy with Terence Crawford when he declined to pay a $300,000 fee following his bout with Canelo Alvarez. Many believe Crawford was fully justified in refusing. He questioned why he should surrender such a substantial amount, noting that other sanctioning bodies like the IBF, WBA, and WBO never objected to the fees he paid them. In his view, those organizations accepted their percentage without issue, underscoring what he saw as arbitrary demands from the WBC. Crawford maintained that his fight purses were his own concern and that Mauricio Suleiman, the WBC president, had no valid reason to seek extra money. Even when he offered the standard 3% of his earnings, the WBC rejected it and insisted on 6%, significantly higher than what other bodies required. Analysts pointed out that aside from providing the belt, sanctioning organizations often add little to the event itself, which makes their steep fees open to criticism.
I think Terence Crawford's well within his rights to say that I ain't giving you $300,000. Why? Like, why am I giving you $300,000? What for? And don't talk about my Mauricio Suleiman saying Terence Crawford made 50 million. What's that got to do with you? No. And what I like as well about Terence, he said, look, I gave the IBF money, I gave the WBA money, I gave the WBO money. We haven't heard any of those organizations moan about the amount Terence Crawford gave to them. They're like, oh, we'll take it. Because ultimately, what are they doing? Apart from strapping a belt around your waist, what are they doing? And we'll get to that as well. So he then tried to give the WBC that amount of money as well. They clearly said, no, we're not taking that. We want a bit more. And then they're like, okay, normally we take 3%, but 3% of 50 million would have been too much. So you know what? We'll allow you to pay us 0.6.
Shakur Stevenson is still undefeated, and no opponent has taken his belt from him in the ring. Nevertheless, the WBC announced his title vacant after he moved up in weight, stating that his departure left a gap in the division. That ruling opened the door for new contenders to fight for the belt, even though Stevenson was never beaten. The difference matters. The title was vacated for administrative reasons, not because of a loss. Stevenson's career record remains unchanged, as this was a procedural decision rather than a measure of his ability or accomplishments. Laying out the facts makes it clear that the WBC's move does not diminish what he has achieved, and his unbeaten record still defines him as one of the elite fighters in boxing.
Ruled inactive at that weight class. So, despite nobody beating Shakur Stevenson, he is an undefeated fighter. Nobody took his belt. But for whatever reason, the WBC has decided him moving up has created some type of void and have now made and declared his title vacant, allowing the division to successfully move forward with new contenders. So in this case, Stevenson, he didn't lose his belt in the ring. Nobody beat him. He's still undefeated. The title was vacated administratively, which is a difference. And we need to establish the facts from the fiction. So nobody beat Stevenson. It doesn't really hurt his career, his official box rec, and it says he's suspended by the commission indefinitely. So I'm not sure if he has some type of injury, but usually when it says indefinitely, they got to get clearance from a doctor to come back. And again, this could be possibly from his fight with Shakur Stevenson. So this is a developing story. And we'll see ultimately how it plays out, what the WBC officially decides to do in terms of who's next and what's next. So what are the facts? What does this mean? Shakur Stevenson was not stripped for any type of misconduct. Shakur was not penalized per se, and Shakur Stevenson is not suspended. So it simply reflects the WBC has considered him no longer active at lightweight at this time. A bit political. That's the only thing that I can think of.
Analyst Ade Oladipo views the WBC's decision to strip Shakur Stevenson of his 135 pounds title as both unusual and controversial. Stevenson, who remains undefeated, had stated that he was moving up in weight temporarily, with plans to return to the 135 pounds division. Even so, the WBC declared the title vacant, arguing that his lack of activity in the division created a gap and opened the door for new contenders to fight for the belt. Oladipo suggests the situation reflects the WBC's often strict and bureaucratic stance. Although Stevenson's most recent bout was not for the WBC title, the organization's rules still required him to pay 50% of the sanctioning fee, as though it had been a title defense.
Shakur Stevenson blast WBC and responds to being stripped of a 135-pound title. This is a bit wild. It's a bit wild. And the reason it's a bit wild, so many different reasons actually. But one of the biggest reasons is that Shakur has always said, I want to go up to fight Tio, but I want to come back down to 135. So basically, he's almost telling the WBC, let me go up there, I will come back down. And with what the WBC are going through right now, and this battle with Zuffa, where, you know, they've got some real big players and power over there, and they're saying F the belts, and WBC are fighting, saying none of the belts mean stuff. The last thing you want to do is have a public spat, a public back and forth with one of the biggest names in boxing right now. Shakur Stevenson is one of the biggest names in boxing. And the thing about Shakur as well, you piss him off, this guy will go straight to social media and make it known that he's pissed off, and that's what he's done.
The analyst considers this policy to be overly harsh, especially since Stevenson never lost his title in the ring. Olau also notes that the WBC's treatment of Stevenson reflects previous disputes with other fighters, highlighting how sanctioning fees and administrative measures can lead to friction between champions and the organization. In the end, Stevenson's career stays unaffected, as the administrative stripping does not alter his undefeated record, but it does prompt questions about the fairness and transparency of the sanctioning body's rules.
From him, which was $100,000. Now, a lot of you might say, well, one second, his last fight wasn't for the WBC, it was for the WBO and the ring title. Why did the WBC want any money from him? The WBC have a clause, I think it's either 7.3 or 7.4, yeah, where even if you do not fight for the WBC belt, if you're a champion of their belt, i.e. which Shakur Stevenson was, you have to pay 50% of the sanctioning fee as though the WBC belt was on the line. Does that make sense? Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to find it and read it out to so I'm not paraphrasing, because this is quite important and I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke. I really do. All right. Okay, yeah. All right, rule 7.3. I'm going to put this on the screen as well.
The analyst points out that Shakur Stevenson has clearly established himself as a 135-pound fighter, moving up in weight only for specific matchups. He recently secured a dominant victory over former unified lightweight and WBO junior welterweight champion Teofimo Lopez. Stevenson now holds a record of 22 wins, 2 losses, and no draws, with 13 of those wins coming by knockout. Despite his clarity, the WBC acted quickly to vacate his 135-pound title, showing little patience for him to decide his next move. Stevenson has consistently stated that he plans to compete at 135 pounds unless a special opportunity presents itself.
Shakur Stevenson made it abundantly clear that he's a 135-pounder. He's going up in weight just for situational fights. He just defeated 2-division world champion, former unified lightweight, and now former WBO junior welterweight superstar Teofimo Lopez. in dominating fashion. He's now 22 wins, 2 losses, no draws, 13 wins by way of knockout. After a beautiful performance, a dominating performance, the WBC, in a rush to do nothing,
He has also shown willingness to face Lamont Roach, whom the WBC recently ranked as the number 2 contender at 135 pounds. Stevenson has never suggested that he intends to stay at 140 pounds on a permanent basis. Analysts highlight that the WBC's hasty administrative actions overlook Stevenson's plans and his undefeated record, raising concerns about the organization's decision-making and its treatment of elite fighters.
What he wants to do next? This dude, Shakur, has told the world, I'm 135 pounds. I plan on competing at 135 unless there's a situation that presents itself. You got Lamont Roach, who you elevated to the number 2 fighter in the WBC at 135. Right? Shakur says yesterday, I'm willing to fight Lamont Roach. We're going to make it happen. Right? Now,
from an analyst perspective, Shakur Stevenson moving up to the 140-pound division creates far more exciting opportunities for boxing. While he could return to 135 pounds, that option seems less appealing after his dominant win over former 2-division champion Teofimo Lopez. Analysts note that the WBO title and the lineage belt he now holds carry more significance at 140 pounds than at his previous weight. Competing in this division opens the door to high-profile matchups, including a potential showdown with WBO welterweight champion Devin Haney, which could become one of the sport's most compelling fights in 2026. The 140-pound division also features other top fighters considered part of boxing's elite, giving Stevenson meaningful and competitive bouts that enhance both his career and the sport.
Of course, Stevenson in the 140-pound division, I think there's more attractive fights in the 140-pound division, because if you would have stood, if you would have gone back to the lightweight division, Muay Thai would probably be the most intriguing matchup. And I don't know if after beating Teofimo Lopez, that I think that would have been going backwards. I believe that the WBO strap that he got right now and the lineage title that he got on is more valuable in the 140-pound division than going back to the 135-pound division. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that he could also petition to beat the WBO mandatory to the welterweight champion in the WBO in Devin the Dream Haney. I think that would be an attractive matchup in 2026 following that type of performance versus Teofimo.
Although Keshin Davis currently holds the WBO mandatory spot at 140 pounds, a fight with Stevenson seems unlikely, underscoring the tension between mandatory obligations and more appealing matchups. Overall, analysts believe that Stevenson's move to 140 pounds enhances his legacy, sets him up for bigger challenges, and delivers more exciting contests for fans, all while preserving his status as one of boxing's top undefeated fighters.
Those are the four kings, the Fab Five, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's just better for the sport of boxing. That's better for Shakur Stevenson. And I think that's a very winnable fight right there. We know that Keyshawn Davis is in WBO mandatory position right now in the 140-pound division, but we all know that they're not going to fight. So, we all could keep on asking Keyshawn and Shakur, where you going to fight? Are you going to fight? Both of these guys already saying they're never going to fight again. So, Keyshawn Davis is going to be moving up to the 147-pound division, right? So, unless that Tank was active at 135, that's the only fight that the world want to see at 135 is Shakur versus Tank. We're not going to see Kid Austin versus Shakur Stevenson at 135. That the Kid Austin, he lost that.
That wraps up today's video. Stay tuned for the next one.